The In It Together with Lori Lynn Green talk show is a positive way to start your day. Ready for some encouragement?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped. Let's let the healing begin.
Come be inspired, hear moving stories, even laugh out loud.
Can't make heads or tail of what I'm saying.
Just incomprehensible.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You'll hear real people doing real things to make a real impact.
You are heroes every day.
Hear honest, compassionate, engaging issues you care about.
You see people come together to do good in our community, and the more we come together, the more good we can do.
Listen in and get started on redesigning your life and hear what's positive in Greater Manchester. Here's your happy host, Lori Lynn Green.
Good morning, friends in Greater Manchester. Welcome to In It Together. We are so glad that you've tuned in. If you'd like to find us on the web, you can go to inittogether.net, listen live, or to previous shows, even link to our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Oh, my goodness. Anywhere you want to connect with us, we would love to connect with you. And if you like and follow us, you'll see that we are bringing out the best in people to influence positive change in this community and beyond. Today is a very special guest. Rick Kardos is here from the Nathan Project, and we're going to be talking about pornography, violence, and intimacy. Warning, this could be some sensitive content for young ears, but moms, parents, this is an important topic. You want to share this, have a watch party, and let everybody know some of this content, things that we don't even know that are happening. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Little Leapers and Knowledge Keepers Childcare and Preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen, located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today at 603-491-1780.
Mark Major knows that great coaches need constant training to be effective. As a certified coach, teacher, and speaker with the John Maxwell team, Mark can help you identify and activate your personal and professional goals. If you seek to do more and be more, look up Mark on the web at johnmaxwellgroup.com/MARC Major or call 603-674-6818. Mark Major, growing leaders and adding value.
Hi, this is Lori Lynn Green, Advancement Strategist and Coach Trainer at alphaadvancementstrategies.com. Join me Mondays at 9 a.m. where I'll talk about ways to help keep you moving forward in life. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Green. Back to In It Together, kicking off with Rick Kardos. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Lori.
Am I hearing you? I think you got to move up a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure can. How's that?
That's great.
Is that better?
It is better. I want to start off the show. Great topic, by the way. This is something that you've been doing for many years, teaching on it. I'm learning a lot from you, little pieces at a time, things that I knew I had a conviction about, but I think the clarity that you bring to it is pretty amazing. Pornography, violence, and intimacy. Now, I want to start off, this is just one aspect of many that you talk about regarding pornography addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start off with you kind of telling us a little bit about the Nathan Project, which is an organization you founded, and tell us kind of what led to that and maybe what your focus is and your goal for that is.
Well, a little bit about my history.
Mm-hmm.
I was, born in the Midwest, had a wonderful nuclear family, mom, dad, a couple of sisters who said I did, give them a lot of grief most of their life. But mom, dad, married 53 years. No real complaints about that first family. but along 12, 13 years old, ran into pornography totally by accident. It's also at a point in life where I was going through some changes and had some insecurities for sure. Pornography was an answer. It was medication to pain. And from there, it just grew and grew and grew. Probably, gosh sakes, less than 6 months. I was an addict, couldn't stop. Took it into a marriage, philandering fool, lost the marriage, lost relationship with my son. Came to know Jesus Christ, personal Savior.
A lot of pain too, right?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
And some of it's self-inflicted, others just out of ignorance too, right? Because if you knew then what you know now, you probably would not have gone down that road.
I think the most common denominator a young men is they just think they are oversexed. They need it more. Thus, they do it more. And it's just a lie.
Well, before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to try very hard to kind of stay within the order of the notes that you sent me. Now, I don't do that a lot with people, but because of how you've laid it out so well, I want to kind of start off with I'm trying to find a good starting point here. I guess the first thing that comes to mind, just even bouncing off of what you just said, is a lot of people don't think that it matters. They think, it's acceptable in society. It's, the guys will be guys. There's jokes about it on media all the time. And it's almost been normalized where it's just part of life. And to a certain extent, I mean, we understand that, that people explore and they want to learn things like that. But I think there's just not enough engagement from parents teaching them. And then even when you and I were talking yesterday, go to the doctors and stuff, you've actually talked to doctors who really don't even know this stuff to be able to talk to, the kids or the parents about what to look for. But the question becomes, is it their responsibility or is it ours?
It's both. It's a both and.
Yeah.
It's obviously ours. And I think another part of it, you use the word normalized.
Yeah.
I think I'd say our culture rationalizes and minimizes it.
Okay.
It medicates pain. Pornography is one of the great medicators. What it does, the drugs that are released in your brain, similar to cocaine, in fact. And we are a hurting society. We're a hurting culture, even if we don't know it. And in one of the comments I made to you yesterday, we talked about a title, and is that, a picture is worth 1,000 words. When we are learning, particularly as young people, images are a much better teacher than our words, or maybe not a better teacher, but they have a quicker effect. They are thought of as fact, where words get challenged. And so when you're looking at images, when you're looking at pornography, you tend to believe what you see. And that is particularly dangerous in that 12, 13, 14-year-old mind.
Yeah, it is. Well, even younger, I would think as well, right? I mean, I think people don't think about it, but I think it goes even younger, don't you?
Well, I mean, you think about today's culture. An example is, mom's walking through the mall and goes by the Victoria's Secret store, or goes by Macy's or JCPenney, and the gigantic, 10, 12, 14-foot tall picture of a woman scantily dressed. By the way, dressed in such a manner that had it been, my young age, 1965, it would have been easily called pornography. And it still is pornography. The culture changed. What it is, the definition hasn't. But anyway, if you see mom walking by that with, 6-year-old or 7-year-old Jimmy, and sometimes he walks by or sometimes that son walks by and just walks by, doesn't see anything per se. And another time, another son walks by, same age, same everything. He's staring. Mom reaches out and jerks him by the hand, gives him a sore shoulder and says, "Don't see that. That's no good." And you think about what was just taught.
Well, a couple things come to mind. Just because we have a segment on Tuesdays on addiction, the shame and so now what you've done is you haven't really taught them anything, but you've shamed them. Now, whenever that happens, they're going to do it and they're going to hide. So anything that I've learned, that anything that you have to hide is probably not something you should be doing.
No, what's unusual, I shouldn't say unusual, but what is a fact for me after talking with, say, 1,000 men over a period of 12, 15 years who've struggled with this, every single one of them felt shame and kept it a secret no matter what. It's almost innate. It happens. They see it. Masturbation follows, and it becomes a secret. And you think about why. Why is that innate part of us keeping that a secret?
And the other thing that comes to mind is you and I are adults, and hopefully there are a lot of adults watching. We put a little disclaimer out there this morning that there could be content you don't want young ears to hear, but this conversation has to take place. And so you and I are going to have a conversation today, and this is a good example of how to, if you want to normalize something, normalize being able to communicate with one another and your children in a way that's safe, that they don't feel shamed, and that you're just, I love you enough to tell you something that could hurt you.
For sure. Again, and part of the reason for me, wanting to be here today is to educate moms and dads, and in this case, particularly moms. I look over the years at how many phone calls I had from parents saying, hey, my son, particularly sons, is having a problem, and I don't know what to do. And he doesn't seem to be able to stop looking and stop acting out with solo sex. For the most part, the vast majority are moms, not dads.
Right.
And so moms, if you're listening, understand that images that your young son or your young daughter see are teaching. I saw this article that from Mary Layden. She's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. And she said, pornography is a potent teacher of both beliefs and behaviors, and in fact provides the ideal conditions for learning. You think about it, it teaches both beliefs and behaviors, not just behaviors. When we teach beliefs, we teach lifelong skills.
Well, the truth is what we believe we tend to play out in our life.
Yes.
So
exactly.
It's an automatic progression of what we've believed. Our life is the sum total of what we believed. So whatever that is. And, we've heard this so much, especially in the Christian community for as long as I've been a believer, 30 some odd years, as, be careful what you put before your eyes and what you listen to. The Word of God has a lot to say about that. And because of what you said, though, it's not just what am I thinking about? Oh, we see that a lot. But what are we meditating on? And a thought doesn't have to become a picture. Like you can have a thought, but do you give it another thought? And so this is some of the stuff that you can learn where it talks about taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And how we do that is not by trying not to do something, but by seeing something better in the way that God would have us do it. And so if we see the purity that he is, we see, from his perspective and his eyes, and we instill that honor and stuff in our children at a very young age, we can actually help them. And also not being hypocritical. How many times have you heard kids was like, oh yeah, the first time I saw that type of thing was when, my dad was watching a show, or, your kids are watching what you're watching and listening to what you're listening to, even if they're not in the room.
That's an absolute. Obviously, it happens that that first look, the first experience with it, probably happens more often at home than anywhere else. But back to something we said at the beginning, is education. Pornography today, is not Playboy magazine. It's not even the VHS movie that we saw back in the my goodness, date myself, the 80s and 90s. It's on your phone. It's delivered faster, higher quality, much easier to have in front of you on your computer, on your tablet. And what's delivered, we used to say, was triple X porn. It wasn't casual porn or soft porn. By the way, I don't believe there's either one. There's no casual soft porn. It's all hard pornography.
I love that you're bringing this out because it's so interesting how people will rate them in levels. Well, that wasn't so bad. Compared to what? It says in the scripture where Jesus talks about, before I would say that if you laid with someone that was not good. Now he's saying if you just look on it, it's the same thing. Because he understands the power of the picture that you were talking about.
Of course. And again, the education piece, they also have choices. They can watch the kind of pornography they want,
Right.
On the click of a mouse or a finger tap on a screen. You find exactly what you're looking for. And I won't be specific, but you have to understand that, or we should understand that the vast majority, again, of the pornography they're seeing is violence against women.
Right.
That is the key theme. And in fact, if you're looking at maybe anything except certain kinds of pornography that are very homosexual in nature, you are seeing women being raped. Women aren't there saying, oh my goodness, please, let's do this together. They may have a smile on their face and they're feigning enjoyment, but there's somebody standing there. There's a producer, a director away from the camera saying, bring a smile, you must do this, you must do that. And so when we talk about a rape culture,
Right.
the young men are seeing abuse, and yet there's and instead of the response being this hurts, this is painful, I don't want to do it, they're seeing a woman say, this is good, give me more. And the teaching that young man is receiving is she likes pain. And the flip side that's for me almost it's more dangerous is that the fastest growing user of pornography are younger women, and they're seeing the same thing that he is. And what's going on in their mind? Well, this is what I must do in order to please him.
So it's I think the whole dynamic is it's an extremely unhealthy and unholy. It's a perverted way to look at what something that was supposed to be beautiful.
I mean, perversion is definitely. I share something from an article. Comes out of a report down in a solid report, something that I would trust down in Australia, and this is what an 8th grade girl had to say. And several of these girls were interviewed, were in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Said, how do you know a guy likes you? An 8th grade girl replied, he still wants to talk to you after you blah, 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 give him sex. A male high school student said to a girl, if you give me sex, I'll give you a kiss. Girls are expected to provide sex acts for tokens of affection and are coached through it by porn-taught boys. 15-year-old girl said she didn't enjoy sex at all, but getting it out of the way quickly was the only way her boyfriend would stop pressuring her and watch a movie.
And what's sad is this is probably so common now. And what were the 3 words you said before when I said normalized? You said rationalized.
The 2, rationalized and minimalized.
And then we wonder why we're seeing so much domestic violence, so much divorce, so much. I mean, this is just not the picture of family that I don't think God intended.
No, and you think about this violence. I can't say this for fact, but I believe it to be true. You take a couple and they come together first as boyfriend and girlfriend, and that moves forward into maybe a love relationship. They decide to marry. He's been engaged in pornography since he was 12 or 13. So let's say he's had 1,000, 1,500 different sexual experiences. She stayed, in quotes, a virgin and has not been sexual. And the first time they come together, he thinks, wow, I have to do this, this, and this. And that pain is an appropriate part of intimacy. She is shocked. She doesn't know what to do with it. It's hurtful. She experiences pain. That couple is back in the pastor's office or the clinician's office in 2 years saying, well, man, we just don't communicate. We have such a hard time. We can't be together. Our intimacy is not anything like what I thought it would be. An example, when I've talked to women whose husbands are addicted, and I say, well, when's the first time you experienced something that said, hey, he's doing something outside of the marriage bed, or there's something wrong? And invariably they say, on the honeymoon, the first time together, they didn't know, but their knower knew something, but it didn't know what it knew. And that's horrible.
It is horrible. We have to take a very brief break, but I think this conversation is so necessary right now. We'll be back right after this. Stay tuned, and please support those who support us so we can stay on the air. We keep bringing you positive programming. Hi, I'm Lori Lynn Green, advancement strategist and owner of AlphaAdvancementStrategies.com. I've been very successful at helping people overcome stressful situations to get immediate results in their personal and professional lives. At Alpha Advancement Strategies, we provide a non-judgmental and supportive environment, empowering clients to focus more on reaching their goals. You can find us on the web at alphaadvancementstrategies.com or call us at 603-860-9260. Alpha Advancement Strategies is where you invest in yourself.
CrossNet Inc. offers computer and IT services for commercial clients as well as local personal users. We create tailor-made plans for your business's unique needs, from computer repairs to managing networks, servers, and desktops. CrossNet Inc. offers managed services, data backups, virus protection, web filtering, and more. For more information, go to crossnetinc.com or call for your personalized IT services today at 603-589-2520. CrossNet Inc. IT services that keep your business running when you're on the run.
Hi, I'm Jen Lever, anchor of the Recovery Now segments. Join me Tuesdays at 9 a.m. where I offer support to families struggling with addiction. Hear personal stories, learn the signs of addiction, and get help for your loved ones. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Green.
Welcome back to In It Together. In the midst of this morning show with Rick Kardos from the Nathan Project, talking about, basically pornography, violence, and intimacy. We were just talking about we kind of talked a little bit about what violence was, and I put a question, what is it in this instance? What does violence look like in this situation? Because if you look at the definition for violence, it basically talks about an extreme form of aggression, such as assault, rape, or murder. And people would think, well, it's not really assault, rape or murder, is it?
I mean, assault for sure. I would think rape. And you think of the words rape culture where we live today. There is absolutely no doubt the facts, the figures, the surveys, the data points that are out there say that pornography is the number one, I can't think of the word, cause of rape today. That I'm not sure what the number is, but if you interviewed, 500 men each who had been involved in a rape, whether it was date rape, whether it was rape on the street, it was rape with a stranger, however, whatever occurred, you will find a man using pornography.
And this is the interesting thing, like we said before. Behavior tells you what happened before, what they were thinking about before, what got in their mind before. And we've seen it. There are a lot of activists out there that are trying to stop pornography from being on the World Wide Web. It's a huge money making from pornography to sex trafficking, which we've had Donna Plord on, and we'll probably have her on again. As a matter of fact, I think she's coming in a couple weeks. But it all kind of goes together. It's this culture of it. And I was just wondering if you knew of any organizations that people could check out as far as, against the internet porn and things like that. Or you had told me one time before, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there's this whole like underground internet that's like behind the normal internet people see. It's kind of like where people know how to get behind it. And there's a whole nother world back there that's pretty dark.
Yeah, dark might be a good word. I have a hard time because of my knowledge. I don't have enough knowledge to speak of, in quotes, the dark web. But I can say that there's a business of the web that I didn't understand. I didn't know that, for an example was, there's a man or, a person out there who goes online and finds a picture of, Mary and Susie, 7th or 8th graders or 9th or 10th graders, and they're engaged in their cheerleading practice, or they're in sexy looking, or I think the word I heard was saucy pictures. And the man sees that. He sees the address. He knows who she is now. And he turns around, or maybe it was a YouTube. I think it was a YouTube video. And he contacts that girl across the net and says, hey, I want to challenge you. Could you do that same thing? Could you do that same look in a bathing suit? And she wanting the affirmation maybe of what her body, who she is, what she looks like, she follows suit. And maybe she gets a friend to do it with her, and then he turns around and comes back and says, boy, you're beautiful. Let me challenge you again. And it's a challenge plan. That second time she's doing it in maybe her undergarments. And eventually the plan is to get her to do it without clothing. And the whole time he's taking that video.
He's working this girl.
Well, but he's putting that,
right.
He's grooming her to put her pictures up on the web where money can be made, because up on his website, if he gets 10,000 hits, maybe he's getting 2 cents or a quarter or whatever it is. And this is where I'm outside of my knowledge.
We don't know all of that, but we know it exists. And so there are a lot of people who are more aware of this. One of the things we like to do is just kind of bring to people's attention, do your own research. We're not your full answer here. We know that.
Oh, not at all.
But we talk about topics, and you can, of course, get in touch with Rick's organization. He'll give that information, in about 10 minutes when we're almost done here. But it's important for people to be aware. I want to kind of continue on. There was... I don't know if did you go through everything that you sent me so far?
Sure.
You did? Okay.
I think so.
All right. As far as that goes. All right. But the other part is how easily accessible it is. Okay. Because it's on the web, we're giving kids that aren't even in middle school devices now.
Mm-hmm.
And what are parental controls? We think we have them on, but we're not sure. I mean, I don't think people really know what the parental controls are or if they're really on.
One of the difficulties is, yes, we absolutely need parental controls on all of our wireless devices and our wired devices, which includes our TV. But
on all devices.
Yeah, but you may put all the parental controls you can on the devices your child has, but think back to what you did as a student in that age group. If you found something that you liked or you saw, what the first thing you wanted to do was, hey, Michael, hey, Jim, check it out. Look what I see. And you bring those images to that person. Now, so your son, your daughter has no way to access the images, but their friends do. So the chance that chances of it being there and from them seeing it at a very young age means your teaching has to involve their belief system so that they don't learn from those images. Instead, they learn from you. And when that situation occurs, they have to make a decision. And quite frankly, contrary to what some parents think, they are still the most important factor when that decision has to be made. It's not their peers, it's not their, although I guess trying to be a part of their peer group could be a big deal, but the parental education that they have received from, cradle to 10 to 12 to 14, 15 years old is going to make a difference. So we can make a difference.
Absolutely. I love that you're bringing this out because it just goes back to what one of your original comments, that education is so important. The first thing, and here's the thing, you can know something, but do you live it? That's two different things. So parents can know something, and there's so much parenting out there as do as they say, not as I do. You're allowed to do this when you're this age. I'm thinking, well, why would it be an age if it's something that's not good for you, no matter what? You should just not do it at all. And then be that role model. Because first off, if you want to have your best chances are kids are going to do half of what you tell them, right? So if you're going to be the best example, you want to live your life pure and holy, and you want to live your life blameless and in a situation where your kids can look at that and never have an excuse of why it's okay for them to do it. This kind of leads me to the thought about how much child pornography. Okay, we heard recently the story of, it was all over the news, of an 11-year-old boy who was sexually dancing in a bar with parents' permission. And people are thinking, it's no big deal, it's a boy. And then people are like, well, if it was a girl, it might be different. And then it's like, wait a second here. Is this how we really process things?
I think you go back to what we talked about briefly on the front end, and the fact that it's not just normalized, it's minimalized, it's rationalized. I would be curious, why is that 11-year-old boy up there? Is there any compensation? Are we just doing it for fun? And impossible.
Well, and here's the thing, what we talked about before, behavior is typically something that comes from what you've already been looking at, watching, whatever. Watching the clips of this child, you would think the parents were sitting there with them watching this stuff so that he could learn, just like kids watch music videos and stuff, and they act out the dances and the songs and all this. This is no different. Why they would think that would be different, I don't know. I'm sorry, but I'm scratching my head. I'm kind of virtually scratching my head here, wondering, what are you thinking? What are we thinking?
I don't have an answer. I think, if we did another show, if we did another segment.
We will.
And then one other thing in another show I'd love to talk about and kind of flesh out is this issue of sexting. We always think it's not my son, it's not my daughter, but go into your local high school and interview 5, 6, 8, 10 kids. They may tell you one thing when they're at home, whether they're young Christians, whatever their belief system is. You hear one story at home. You go into the school and the answer is, well, it's nothing. It's not a big deal. It is normal. It is what we do. Then
society has told us, like in the high schools, well, kids will be kids. So they overlook all of the stuff.
Well, and then you think of all the attention bullying is getting today. Well, so a young lady who wants to be liked, wants to be particularly liked by that peer group of boys or young men that are around her, and one of them says, hey, send me a picture of such and such, of you in some state of undress. And, she doesn't really want to do it, but then she decides, I want his approval. I want him to like my body or like how I look or like me. So quite frankly, she's being bullied. There's no middles. And she does that. Right. And then he takes that picture and maybe he shares it. And the shame that comes upon her, or he bullies her into doing more of it.
It can ruin her reputation. And not only that, going down the line in her life, this is going to be a scar.
Well, yeah, but it's part of daily life.
Wow.
So we really go after the idea of bullying, but I don't think we attach it to this idea of sexting and what young women or young girls are being asked to do.
Yeah. Wow.
Love to come back.
Well, not just that, but things like Snapchat and a lot of those social media sites. I think most parents, if they're being really honest, don't really know which social media sites their kids are on or what they're doing. And because Snapchat disappears, they don't really, there's no record.
Yeah, and there are, again, I can't speak to them because I'm not knowledgeable enough, but Snapchat chat is only one of the things, one of the ways that particularly young women are being seen many times without clothes. And we have to understand that. Parents need to have that education. But it begins, I think, by understanding how pornography itself molds our beliefs and our behaviors, and what that means, and be able to explain to our children what's happening, not just say, don't do it. My goodness, everything my parents told me don't do, I went out and wanted to find out why I shouldn't by trying it.
I think having the conversations, like I had 4 children, very young. We had like regular devotional times and stuff, and we talked about those types of things. But even more than just telling them what not to do, I kind of like to paint the picture of what was the best life for them to live and why we would want that instead, and how those types of things can prevent us from having the best life that we're intended to have.
Sure.
And there's a lot in that, but parents don't. I don't even know if they have the time anymore, or they have to find it.
That's a whole nother discussion.
They do. They have to find it. I mean, I had to find it too, which means there's a lot of giving up, a lot of sacrifice. We're just about out of time, though. I really I look forward to the next time that we bring this topic to the table. If you haven't been able to hear him before, we did a previous show. What was it, like a month and a half ago?
Sure.
They'll always be in the archives in this program, either on Friday or on Community. I think it's Fridays typically. You want to give some contact information, give last thoughts, what you want people to leave a parting gift or a parting thought.
Contact information is pretty easy. You can go to the website, which is nathanproject.net. But the number I'd like to share with you is my cell phone. There are a lot of people listening. Maybe mom has her own problem. Maybe her son has a problem. Maybe she knows her husband has a problem. Either share my number with those people that have a problem, or call me. Allow me a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to explain what you can or can't do to get help. And that number is 603-682-7800, 603-682-7800. I'm available. I'm willing. I'll share my story, my history, where I came from, but I'll also share the healing that I experienced, how I went from that, a broken marriage and a loss of a relationship with a very, very special son to remarriage, and now to a very, very special son and daughter-in-law and new grandbaby. It doesn't get any better. So it matters. And my email, too, is a simple one, rick@nathanproject.net. Love to talk to you, love to interact, love to help. We need help.
We do. I have a last thought is, like all addictions, although I believe Rick has shared how this one's probably the worst because of the images that stick with us. People can get caught up in it and they want out but don't know how to get out.
Exactly.
And I think this is what you extend to them, is a way out. Before we go, I want to let people know a lot of what you do, Rick, is you meet with organizations, churches, and you help train their staff all through New England about this topic. So because we can't leave this out anymore, we can leave out the opioid crisis.
Sure.
Because it's affecting minds.
Before I forget, and I also think because she's listening, my wife has a very special ministry that's part of the Nathan Project, and she deals with the betrayed heart, to the wife, to the partner, to the wife to be, who has a husband or a partner or a fiance who's struggling. How does she deal with it? How does she see herself? How does she deal with maybe her codependent behavior? But more than anything, how does she get healthy so that relationship can be healthy? It's difficult to make, in quotes, a healthy decision from that position of illness.
Right.
So.
I if she is listening, Vicki, I would love to have her on sometime to talk about that very thing. I've told you I have a very close friend who went through this. She went from living in a beautiful country home to almost being on welfare with her child.
Sure.
It can be devastating emotionally, physically, spiritually, in every way.
Well, think of the numbers too.
Yeah.
I'll close with that if, as the vast majority of the surveys from people from George Barna to Promise Keepers to the Men's Convention holders, 50%, maybe more, of the men in the church are using pornography at least once or twice a month when they intentionally go to search for it. It didn't just happen. And if you're one of those men, one of that 50%, and you're doing something that stands against what you believe. It puts your family relationships at risk. It puts your marriage at risk, who you are in your community. The 5 biggest risk factors that would keep you from doing something, you do it anyway, and you can't stop. If you can't stop and the risk is that large, and you were in a clinician's office, what word would they attach to that behavior? They'd say you're an addict. So it isn't just that we're dealing with a problem or a struggle. We're dealing with maybe half the young adult and adult men in our church are addicted.
Right.
If that were the opioid crisis we were talking about, or if that were diabetes, we'd be in the lobby.
It's just as harmful, and this is why people don't understand.
Well, it's more harmful. You can't escape. You can maybe escape drugs.
I'm really careful about not saying more. I mean, I can say that you can escape drugs, but people die from drugs. I don't know if people die from pornography. So I understand where you say it's worse in some ways as far as your brain. I mean, I totally get it, but I'm really careful about that. Just because I know people have died.
Yeah, it's not about the end maybe of a person's life that I talk about.
The effects.
Think about, well, it's the inability to escape.
I understand.
Cocaine, maybe I think what I've been told, it's out of your system in 90 days when you abstain. You're not seeing it, you're not looking at it, but you're also not setting yourself up for a place where you're going to get healthy enough where you can use cocaine again. Where with intimacy and pornography, it's in your life daily. The temptation's always there. You cannot escape it. You just cannot escape what you're seeing, the images that bring back all the other images.
Right.
And I'll land, I promise.
No, but it's really good that you're bringing this out. I mean, I think that I was kind of sharing what I thought. What are other people thinking about that? And so it's important for you to bring that out.
Yeah. So if you can't escape it, and it's always there, it's going to be more difficult to escape. But also, you can't just get sober. You don't just enter into recovery. You want to get healthy, that you can have an intimate relationship with your wife inside the marriage bed. You don't want to spend the rest of your life abstaining from being sexual with your wife because you were, in quotes, an addict. You want to be a healthy person, able to have a healthy relationship.
Okay, I see it now. The thing that I'm relating it to is like somebody who was an alcoholic. You're never going back to alcohol. And so for this addiction, it's not like you're never going back to being able to have a healthy relationship. So I get it. Yeah. The picture's a little bit better. Thank you so much for clarifying that, for sharing all you did, for all you and Vicki do in this area. I pray that God gives you more grace and more people to reach.
I'm one of the most blessed people in the world. Just imagine going from where I was, what I went through, to God's redemption, His grace, His mercy, and now allowed to serve others. It doesn't get any better.
Full circle. It's awesome.
Amen.
All right. Well, that concludes today's program. Thank you all for listening. If you want to join me on Monday for The Good Life, where I help you move forward in your life, help you face challenges and overcome. We'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. See you then. Have a great weekend. And remember, we are in it together.